So let's go ahead and roll into what's happening in the markets. So real quick, kind of just overnight, a little bit of rollover in SPY, ES futures, and just futures right now, not crazy down. Europe was kind of mostly up, but some mixed, and same with Asia, but slight bias up. But yeah, same thing. We're going to continue to experience contracted volatility with SPY. Right now markets are SPY is kind of in a positive gamma zone right now. So anytime you have overall positive gamma in the markets, you tend to have contracted volatility, whereas the negative gamma is in Qs and in small caps IWM. So expect more volatility again, especially with month-end rebalancing flows. So expect more volatility in Qs and IWM. Tech sector is still continuing to look weak across the board. Qs is only down a little bit, but there are a lot of stocks that were just super strong, not just memes, but big kind of Robinhood millennial plays that are just getting hammered. And, Tesla is one of them. Tesla continues to weak. So we're going to get into that. But first, let's kind of just briefly talk about ranges, what we expect in Qs or in SPYs. I'm expecting no more than, 5-point range. We're probably looking at potentially another 392 support to 396 to the upside. 400 should act as resistance. I just don't think we have enough fuel to get there. Qs are going to be a little more volatile. I think Qs has potential. I mean, the weekly or monthly view up is coming at 312, and that has offered support the last few sessions. But these two weekly ranges have got to break. And so if it continues to find support, then it's going to press into the 320s. I'm still thinking about, there's a good chance I'm going to be a seller at 320. But, we could see Qs drift down all the way to 310 and 300. So if we start to get some serious selling in it, Bitcoin is looking very strong, and I'm liking the chart even more and more now. And I feel like Bitcoin is trying to pressure for a breakout. So if you look at the structure, we had this nice kind of almost parabolic run, corrective structure pullback, breakout higher. This aggressive selling definitely shook up a lot of people for sure. And so it did create a short-term floor around here, and it shot through, but then it's corrected back. And if you look at the most recent pullbacks, let's get the eraser back out. What are you seeing? Dips into monthly view up, bought, dips, bought, and then this week, dip into monthly view up, bought. And so now it's building pressure. It's making a series of higher lows, higher low, higher low, higher low. And so it's building pressure to try and take out the, around 60K, even though the high was 61, almost 62. Yeah, it's building pressure now. And as long as the dips are now contained at 54.5 and above, and they continue to go higher, then Bitcoin's just building pressure for another breakout. So after that and the all-time highs, you have natural round targets of 65, 70K, things like that. So I'm still holding to my long-term prediction on Bitcoin to be 100K at the end of the year. That's how I'm looking to play that. If you don't want to trade Bitcoin directly, you can via Bitcoin Trust. And I know Fidelity is coming out with a Bitcoin ETF very, very soon. So it sort of, it tracks the price of Bitcoin with the premium. And so it's not quite as accurate or as perfectly stable, but it's the closest thing you got to a proxy. So until Fidelity comes out with an ETF, I think this is kind of where I'm leaning towards. So I'm looking towards a dip towards 47 and buy then the monthly view up, and then hold for highs, and then up to 60 plus. But Bitcoin's looking very good. I'm liking Bitcoin more and more. The structure continues to build. I think it's shaking, it's shaking out a lot of weak players on this sell-off and this sell-off and this sell-off. And so it's just looking better and better right now. Okay, so getting into Tesla, and we're seeing a weakness across a lot of stocks. Let's go to 4 hour. Let's get rid of the numbers there. So we had talked about, we were on Benzinga, I think, what was it, this week? Oh, wait, no, we were on Benzinga right this day in the pre-market. And we talked about how there's just so much option positioning right here that 700 is just kind of like a wall. prior Tesla rip rallies like this, counter trend impulsive moves have generally taken out and built up higher lows, but this hasn't. It ran into a wall at 700 and then it's just continually drifted lower, and the rallies are getting smaller and smaller. You look at it. That's a very flat bounce. That last one is very flat. There's no heavy buying off of it. And so, I'm looking at that and I'm like, okay, Tesla looks like it wants to retest this, lows around here between, what is that? 540 and 560. Like, it looks like it's going to break down. It might rally today, but 608, weekly view up could offer resistance. And if it doesn't clear out above 625 and it produces another weak bounce, then I think we're headed lower on Tesla. I think short-term Tesla's in trouble. But then once it gets to here, it should find value buyers, people who are, long-term buyers of it on support. And then if it bounces here, how strong it bounces will determine whether it can make it back up to the 700 range or not. And so if it produces a weak bounce off of here, if it breaks through and then produces a weak bounce and weaker bounces, then we're seeing Tesla drifting lower and lower and probably going to start threatening that 500. So right now, Tesla is looking very weak. I would not be, if you're a long-term player in Tesla, I am not seeing any signs in the price action and in the flows right now that Tesla is looking great. So even when I look at my notes from option positioning on Tesla, let's real quick take a look at, so calls and puts are relatively even in number. The total amount of calls and puts is right around 2.4 million for each. So it's not picking up a lot of option flows. And, it's sitting right at this kind of key strike at 600. That's huge. So Tesla looking weak across the board. Also, other ones that are showing weakness, Peloton. This was kind of like a big COVID stock. It has also rolled over pretty heavy. And it looks like it wants to break down even further. Let's see if the weekly, let's start with the weekly real quick. So we have a potential head and shoulders pattern. Here's your left shoulder, potential neckline, head. The right shoulder, though, is just not bouncing. It bounced off this same support, this support that produced a rally from 91 up to 170, almost doubling in price, is now just nothing. No follow through, no follow up buying. These wicks are showing people are buying the intraday dips, but they're not rallying and they're not closing towards the highs. They're closing towards the middle. Now that, middle, lower, now meeting monthly VWAP as resistance. Peloton is another one of those that looks like it's in trouble, so if we continue to get weaker bounces off this, then I would expect a potential break to the downside. If we do get a pop up, that might be a potential chance to sell a head and shoulders rally. But it just continues to look weak. So I have alerts to sell, most likely via options, if we get to like the 112, 115 area. So I'm looking on the bear side in Peloton. Another one, Net, Cloudflare, service we use. Same thing, very strong COVID last year, struggled the last few months, end of the year, and is now rolling over. So key support, 65. And right now at 65 flat, right now at 65.63. But bounce, roll over, and weak to start. So that means monthly view up now becomes resistance. And so there is a key strike here at 65. But if we see another weak bounce off this and it fails at the monthly view up, then expect more downside pressure on this. So continuing to see more and more of weakness across the board. And the last one that's also showing weakness that we're looking at some bearish plays, Square. I like Square as a company. The technology is good. I think it's got a huge promising future. But again, a less pronounced structure, but your head and shoulders. Relative baseline around 200. And again, bounce, bounce, close. Now this is treating it as resistance, barely lifting off the mat. A weak bounce here, another weak bounce, and we could be heading towards 170. So again, just a lot of weakness in a lot of tech stocks that were strong last year. This year, not showing that same strength. So yeah. Okay, so let's see. Okay, Vanderscore, we'll take a look at that when we get to open Q&A. All right, so looking at Benzene Movers for the day, just to kind of see what potential day trading opportunities there are. So for those of you know, I use Benzinga to filter out my potential top day trades for the day, top movers. I get my news feed over here, which is great. If I see something that's really good, I can check out any news on it. Potential earnings coming up. For some reason the date hasn't updated. There we go. So it's letting me know potential earnings for today. Can I move that? Well, we'll do that later. What I look for is in the movers section here. This is over the pre-market. I'm looking for something a minimum 600,000 volume. Less than that, it just doesn't have enough volume or interest. So I look at and I see anything from Biocept up has the volume. And then I'm really looking at percent gain. Do we have something with kind of like a double digit type gain or more? So if we have something with high volume in relationship to its average volume over 1 to 3 months, then that tells us there's pre-market institutional interest. The traders getting in pre-market, they believe this is, potentially going to move and they're positioning themselves before the market. So I look at that. I look at volume in relationship to average volume. If I see something that's strong in relationship to its average volume, that means that before the market's even opened, it's showing strong interest. That's a good sign that it's going to surpass its average volume. And things that have higher than average volume tend to move more and thus give us more trade opportunities. So basically anything from Biocept up. So what I do from there is I just start clicking on the links and it shows me in the chart what the price action looks like. And what I'm generally looking for is something that pops and then holds towards the highs of the pre-market. Things that pop and fade, that means that the news came out, they got an initial burst on it, but there's no follow through. Nobody's continuing to buy this saying, hey, we believe this is a good buy. So Biocept, popped from 531 up to 7. It's about $1.70. So that's roughly a third. And then it's sold off already 70 cents of that $1.70 gain. So that is a little too much of a retracement for me. I'll wait, throughout the day and see if it builds. But for right now, it's not showing a lot of strength or like holding on to the strength after the announcement. Canon, another one there. It's double topped and made lower highs. There was only one, I think, that really fit the bill. And that was this one here. Molecular and Bio. So I haven't had a chance to check MBRX. What is the nude on this molecular and biotech? There we go. Okay, at 4:31 this morning, Molecular and Biotech receives FDA approval of fast track designation for Annamycin in the treatment of sarcoma lung metastases. Okay, metastases. Interesting. Clinical stage pharmaceutical company with a broad portfolio of drug candidates targeting high resistant tumors and viruses today announced that the FDA has approved its request. That's it. Okay, so it's basically just a repeat. Okay. So, okay, it doesn't say what stage we're in, but it's it's given the fast track designation for its drug. Okay, so that's some positive news catalyst. Not gangster by any means. And it had EPS. So let's look at MBRX. Yeah, let's take a look at MBRX. Okay, so something fits, in terms of movement, volume, everything like that. Then I want to take a look at it on the charts. And the first thing I'll do is mark the pre-market highs as a resistance. So that's my AltH button in TradingView. And then I want to look at the weekly and see okay, where does that resistance line up with the charts? And when I look at the weekly, a very clear pattern emerges. This stock just consistently rips and fades, rips and fades, rips and fades. And these candles are weekly. So every single week that it finds a rip, it fades. It's not holding any of these gains. None of these closes are at the highs. So it could be something that like it gets picked up in a chat room. Hey, this is moving. It pumps it for the day, but by the end of the week, it's lower. So what does that mean for you as a trader? That means that if you are going to day trade this, you want to be super quick on this one, tight stops, because it can reverse really fast. And so you don't want to be like expecting this to be a multi-day or multi-week runner, because these candles are showing it just doesn't do that. Usually it gets some sort of news, it pops and then it fades, pops and fades, pops and fades. So if you're going to trade the long side, get in, get out, make your money, get out quick, be done with it. You know, you can rinse, you know, lather, repeat kind of thing until you get a decent loss. And then you're like, okay, I made my money, trade the momentum, I'm done. The other option is to potentially fade this. So that would mean that your broker would have to make it available to borrow. If it's HTB, hard to borrow, then in Thinkorswim, you only need 125K to be able to short those. You just call the broker and say, hey, I need shares to borrow on this one here. So you could short it. And potential short levels, yeah, 723. Pre-market highs was 502. I'm not sure we'll get there, but between 650 and 723 look like decent levels to potentially fade this. So this is where it closed yesterday, and it's up a little bit. I'm not really liking this one here. It's already faded 50 cents. It's just not, it's not the kind of story stock or something that's looking like long-term viability. Like literally it opens 375, pops up to $5.25 move, has another rejection at 5, and here it is sitting at 447. So of the $1.25 that it gained on the initial candle, the 5-minute candle, it's already lost 55 cents of that. So this is not something that's like holding towards the highs. So I'll set an alert above 5 in case it happens to build. You know, like it sits here maybe at the 20, comes back, starts producing lower lows, like look like it's building and drawing more interest. Otherwise, this is a pass for me. So I'll let the alert do the work. And if it never triggers, then I move on. So not a whole lot of movers, which is not surprising considering that we are seeing that the Russell is just, you know, it's rolling over. Small caps are rolling over. And we talked about this a year ago. We said, hey, you know, if the market has bounced in March and April, if it really has bounced, the stocks that are going to be the highest performers are small caps. They're always the strongest out of the gate. But after like 6 months, a year, whenever they are done with their trend, then they underperform. And that's what we're seeing right now. We're seeing weakness across the board in small caps. So small caps now stuck in this corrective structure between 209 and 233. And if it closes bearish, that's 3 weeks of selling. So you have impulsive, corrective, find support, makes new highs, false break back down, and just selling since then. So a bunch of traders probably got trapped on this breakout, and it has since rolled over, and they're feeling the pain right now. So 209, 210 is the most salient support. Let's see what's going on with just options positioning. Wow, puts are, in terms of open interest, puts are outnumbering calls by over 2 to 1. Yeah. 1.8 million calls roughly and 4.6 million puts out in the market. Yeah, that's huge. That's huge. I'm expecting more downside pressure on IWM and RUT. So looking at that, yeah, it's not holding. It's not holding well. It could grind lower past 209. Yeah. But I think once you get to 200, then it's going to be much more of a slow grind, unless there's some very large stops here. But was I looking at notes? Yeah. Yeah, it's in a negative gamma because there's puts outweighing calls. And it means there's more short options right now going on. The market's in a negative gamma mode. And so volatility to the downside is always stronger when the market's in a negative gamma mode. And so, yeah, I think dealers are kind of in a strange position where if the markets rally, they kind of have to hedge. But if it sells off, things can get ugly quickly. That's generally how things work when markets position in negative gamma. So looking at that, yeah, I think below 207 and we're in trouble. Maybe 205 would be the last would be the Alamo. And then you got 200, and then it just opens up a lot of fresh downside. So I'm going to set an alert here in case we get there. If I feel like it's going to hold, maybe a potential mean reversion play. That's kind of the theme with SPY is mean reversion right now, whereas Qs and IWMs, small caps are trending lower. Okay, a couple questions before we roll. How are we doing? 5 minutes of market open. Vanderscore wanted to look at Big Head and Shoulders Jamia daily right now. So just to let you know, Vanderscore, this is your first time here, welcome. The way we do call outs, basically, you want to do a call out, no problem. Symbol, time frame, 1 sentence description, bullish or bearish. You fulfilled it, so nicely done. You gave me the time frame, the daily, your relative description via the Big Head and Shoulders. Yeah, it's a big head and shoulders. You're seeing a lot of head and shoulders in stocks that were really strong in 2020, even early part of 2021. And now they're just not showing the same strength. And if I had to suspect, I think a lot of retail traders or like Robinhood traders are feeling the pain on this, because you got to remember in Q1 alone last year, Robinhood added 3 million accounts. Over half of them were new traders to the market. 1.5 million new traders to the market. They are now at roughly 1 year into the market. And if the market has been a 1 year bull trend, it's very easy to think you understand markets. There's also people out there like Dave Portnoy and all these people that are screaming, hey, stocks only go up. And that's a real lack of understanding of how the markets work. And so you have a generation of traders that think stocks only go up. They started buying stocks in March, and they did go up for months and months and months and months and months. But now they're encountering this. And I guarantee those same people that were thinking they were gangster traders are now really questioning themselves. They're really questioning themselves. And some of them are probably stubbornly holding on to a lot of these long positions, like in Tesla. I'm sure some people bought at 700. Now we're at 600. I'm sure some people bought, a lot of stocks at the highs and are still holding them. So, yeah, I think a lot of people are feeling the pain. And I know JMIA was one of those. I mean, the stock went from 7 to almost 70. That's ridiculous. That's a 10 bagger, so. Yeah, this one's very clear head and shoulders. And again, a lot of stocks, Tesla, space. There's just a lot of stocks that are showing the same pattern. It's not just isolated to one stock. So it's telling me, and when you see it concentrated in a lot of the Robinhood, names and a lot of the tech stocks and things like that, and ESG, tells me there's broad weakness in that part of the market. A lot of weakness in that part of the market. And so, if that's the case, then, let's say you're a long only stock trader, which most of my stock trades are long only, at least when I buy the stocks. If I want to play the bear side, sometimes I'll take the short side, but you have more margin. And if you hold it overnight, there's even more margin on that. So I'd rather use my capital efficiently. I generally do bearish plays via options. So if you want to be, hedging your position, options is a great way to do it. If you want to trade the bear side, options is a great way to do it. Less margin. And also you can neutralize the risk a lot easier than if you just short it outright. But, when there's only a handful or a few dozen stocks that are showing strength, then you want to be more cautious in picking stocks with strength. Super, super important. If a broad market is showing the same pattern, we've now shown 5, 6, 7 charts with relatively the same pattern, it's probably it's not contained to just those stocks. It's probably much wider, than we think, or than the charts that we've looked at. So if a lot of them are showing that bearish pressure, then when you do look to long stocks, pick the ones that are really the strongest. That's what we've been trading lately. So hey, let's pick stocks that are really, really strong and let's get long those. and then wait till, these either hit support, balance out, correct, whatever. But when the broader market is under pressure, be more selective with the stocks that you choose to trade. Super, super important. Okay, so yeah, couldn't agree more on the scenario of underscore. Let me set an alert on this one here. I'm not sure I can do options on JMIA. Does anybody know if JMIA has options? I'd be curious to know about that. All right, let me flip this over to regular so it slowly starts getting the data in on that. I love the head and shoulders still marker there. Okay, so yeah, good spot on that. I like that Vanderscore. That's a good spot. I really like the fact that we got like no bounce off this support. It means it's under pressure. I think if we get under 31, we're in trouble. Let's see if we have. Okay, it looks like there are options. Calls are slightly outnumbering puts, which is kind of surprising. It means there's some really stubborn players in this. Wow, in terms of open interest, the top put is $40 and we're well below that. Huh. Okay. So let's see here. Let's look at 20. Yeah, I mean, this thing could be a couple levels that come out to mind, which is 20. So in TradingView, if you want to create your supported resistance line, you just hit AltH. It's a great hotkey thing. And 24.33, which is this weekly low here and almost touching the weekly high. This looks like it wants to break down. Yeah, this looks like it wants to break down. If it happens to get back up to the monthly VWAP, then I would probably look for a bearish play on this one here. Yeah, it's a good spot, Vanderscore. I like this one. Nicely done. Nicely done. Wallball saying might be a good time to add some hedge to the portfolio with all these bearish steps across the board. Yeah, if you have, my portfolio is mostly long based. I do have some short plays in it, but it's mostly long based. And the short ones I'm generally out of faster than I will hold the long ones. But yeah, if you haven't already, definitely well past the time to be hedging. So, the problem is that hedging now becomes more and more expensive the more it falls. But yeah, definitely looking to be hedging positions, in my opinion. Victor saying, I love how I can position myself and benefit from the weakness in the markets after you're the options boot camp. I see setups and opportunities instead of just waiting for long entries in the past. Yeah, that's one of the great things about options. Not everybody has the 125K to short stocks, to call their broker and say, hey, I want to borrow shares to short it. And there's a lot of stocks that show up as HTB, hard to borrow. So, what is another way to do it? Options, and for a lot less margin. And so that's why if you notice, like when the markets are going up, I'm trading a lot more stocks than options. When the markets are going down, I'm trading a lot more options than stocks. So somebody was wondering like, hey, why are you taking so many option trades? Why aren't you buying stocks? I'm like, yeah, because there's broad weakness in the market. And since I generally have I prefer to long stocks versus shorting stocks, switch to options, less margin, more options. No pun intended. Wallball, GoPro, bullish daily. That was on our list not too long ago. Short term, let me see what's going on. Yeah, I can't say I'm 13. Yeah. $137,000 calls, 88,000 puts in the market. I'm thinking I probably wouldn't touch this till $10 or $9. Yeah, somewhere between 9.20 and 10. It's at the monthly VWAP, but I mean, look at this. You have a 2-candle rip, selling, bounces, and then this week it immediately opened and sold off from the open. And it's just sitting right on top of that right now. So yeah, I would probably say, wait till a 10 strike or a 9 Wait till a 10 or a low nines. Yeah. Yeah. In fact, I already have the 9 alert out there. So yeah, I feel like, yeah, definitely wait a little bit on this one right here. You have earnings not till May. So you got some time on them. Yeah. But I'm not like, this doesn't inspire me to get bullish right now. It's just, I mean, even after the sell-off yesterday, every pullback into resistance, VWAP, 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 selling. So short term, it looks like it's going to roll over. That's what I'm seeing on that one. Yeah, I don't see a gamma squeeze. You have to understand the conditions have to be right for a gamma squeeze, and this is not it. Yeah. Yeah. Okay. Jeffrey Bankers, when you look for strong movers, do you trade breakouts? I mean, how can you buy cheap pullbacks for continuations when the scanner showed you already a move? Show me already a move is pre-market though. So it's not just breakouts. You can take pullbacks for sure. But it wants to, generally you'd want the market to like rip from the news and then hold near the highs, so then I can take pullbacks into dynamic support and resistance, or I can trade breakouts. So yeah, it's not just trading breakouts. You can also take dips off support for sure. Stefan's saying, yeah, it's insanely dangerous saying the markets are only bullish. I know. It's crazy. And that's the thing. There's a whole generation of traders that have grown up with that idea. Like that's just the first quarter of 2020. Robinhood probably added at least 6 million accounts last year. And with half of them being new people, you're talking several million people that do not have a good education in the markets and grew up with the idea stocks only go up. And so it's just, yeah, I think there's going to be a day of reckoning for that. If we continue to see weakness in Tesla and all these others, these stocks that they're long and they keep going down, 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 eventually they're going to just be like, I'm out. It's too much pain. And then they're going to be like, what happened? It was so easy to make money. Stocks only go up. And yeah, that's just not how it works. So, markets, if you understand how dealer positioning works, if you understand how option positioning works, if you understand how markets work, markets are way more volatile to the downside than to the upside. As markets climb, volatility tends to contract. Yes, there are parabolic moves in the markets, but those are not long-standing moves. They happen and then they're done. And sometimes it takes years for those instruments to recover. And so, it's important to understand that volatility is almost always much higher to the downside than when markets are moving consistently up. And so that creates totally different scenarios of positioning, of trading when your positions are selling off. It makes it harder to hedge. It means things get exacerbated, things overshoot your stops, your targets, and things like that. Super important. Newer traders need to learn this. Do you trade short ETFs? I will trade short ETFs generally via options. Yes. Oh, do I trade ETFs that are short, that are designed to be short? Not as much. If I find a really good structure, for sure. But yeah. Sea change. Inter has bounced up this morning. Can't see any news as to why. Not really seeing a bounce. I'm seeing a lot of pressure at the downside and holding at weekly resistance here. So yeah, I'm not seeing that. Seems like it's sitting at support right now. And if it breaks that, then it's in trouble. Okay. Which Euro stock exchanges do you recommend to subscribe for intraday swing trading? DAX, FTSE. DAX and FTSE are going to be they're going to have the most stocks for that. You got the IBEX, the Spanish, and you got the Italian FTSE, but spreads on those are wide and volatility tends to overshoot. So yeah, not my favorite. If I'm going to trade, like if you like took my office and did a Dorothy style tornado in Kansas and put me in Europe, I would probably be trading the I would trade my 4 favorite indices to trade would be the FTSE, DAX. I like the volatility, but the actual index, the DAX itself, I've struggled with. But I do like the Swiss exchange, and I also like the CAC 40 French index. So those are my favorites. Justin saying, I can't tell you how many times I've heard the phrase dollar cost averaging in the last 4 months. Wow. Yeah. Yeah, that's kind of scary. That's kind of scary. Yeah. Very scary if you hear that a lot. That's maybe I need to do a video on that. Maybe I need to do a video on that because it's clearly still a problem. Robin had used the marketing to go quickly. Yeah, they did. Yes, they did. They definitely used that to their advantage. Okay. That's pretty much it for today. We've covered all the questions. I hate all these beeps. It does this every time. Like the first time I open up a tab, if I get an alert, I have to open up all the other tabs to kick out the alert. So yeah. Okay, cool. I'm going to switch to live trading with the members. So if you enjoyed this, you got something out of it, you learned something about your trading, it helped you learn more about the markets and your understanding of it, hit the like button, hit the bid. We appreciate it. It gives us the support, shows YouTube, hey, we enjoy them streaming, and YouTube then comes back and supports us. We really appreciate that. I'm not paid for this. I could have been trading pre-market and making money, but I'm doing this to help my community. So we appreciate the love and support. So good luck trading, and I will see you guys tomorrow. We're doing the live stream all this week. And Friday, we are definitely doing a live stream. So 5 days this week. But Friday, we're going to try new streaming software. Zoom is not the best for YouTube. It's great for meetings and webinars, but it's just bad when it comes to it just doesn't get the bit rate. So my video looks a little weird. So yeah, so we're going to play with the streaming software that we're working with called Streamlabs. Hopefully we get it right. So be there this Friday to help us test it. And then if we do that, then we'll do some really good open Q&A. So with that being said, good luck trading today, and I'll see the members in the live trade room, and I will see you guys tomorrow. Take care, everyone.